She was right at the reception, and then she put her tongue in I'm telling you, Cornette's wife was getting down around 01, 02. I'm telling you, she put, whatever. The Stupidity of Jim Cornette. Now, I did this series, I believe I debuted this series about November, December 2023. Right? And I was on, off to a hellacious start about this worthless, bigoted, atheist piece of trash with the pea brain. Most of Cornette's jokes and most of his references, first of all, Cornette's not funny. Cornette is funny to corny rednecks and incels. Most of Cornette's references and jokes is something he stole from a wrestler in 70s Memphis wrestling. Go watch 70s, 80s Memphis wrestling, and you're going to hear in promos and interviews, where did this joke, why does it sound familiar? Why does that sound familiar? Because Cornette been stealing Lawler jokes from 1978, but whatever. The Stupidity of Jim Cornette. Oh, beautiful series. Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Now, Jim Cornette is an individual who, he came up in wrestling as a photographer, what have you. He'd been a mark. And he was someone that in his wrestling career, he came up around a lot of great bookers, but also a lot of madmen and crazy people. And through all of that, he formulated his booking style, which was mainly on Showcase and Smoky Mountain Wrestling and OVW Wrestling. And Cornette was the type of person that, to this day, he's still stuck in 1977. Okay, when he was in WWF in the 90s, you could just see in his little pea brain, oh, if I wear these powder blue suits, that'll be heat. I always thought he took away from Yokozuna personally. I always thought he did. I thought he was too animated. No one ever revered Cornette. Never. If Jim Cornette's so brilliant, why did every company he ever worked for fire him or let him go? Okay, whenever every company, it was never like, please Jim, no Jim, please don't leave. No, they let him go. Okay, it wasn't like it wasn't like, if you remember in TNA when Hogan was at the end of his run, this was like real life and on TV it was like, I guess, ribbing on the square or whatever, but they literally did a segment in real life. Hogan's contract was ending, and then they did a segment where Dixie Carter's like, please Hulk, please Hogan, please don't leave TNA, please. And then she literally got on her knees, like Cornette's wife, and she was like, please Hogan, please don't leave me. And then he walked out. And that was a real thing. They were trying to re-sign Hogan, and then he ended up leaving. And then I believe that's when he returned to Titan. And then he was at WrestleMania 30, where he called the what was it, Sugar Dome, Silver Dome, Cornette's wife is given Dome, whatever it's called. Did you hit the like button? But no company ever did that with Cornette. They fired him or just let him leave. So if he's so brilliant, explain that. All the Cornette man worshippers, explain that. If Cornette is so brilliant, why did every company just get rid of him or let him go? Okay, how many bookers picked Vince Russo over? And people like Jim Cornette are so common. He when someone he doesn't like have success, he always does the, the reason Russo has success is because, he just happened to have Rock and Austin. I'm sorry. When Cornette was the booker in WWF with Pritchard, they had Rock and Austin in 96. They had Rock and Austin in 97. What did they do with them? When Cornette was booking, him and Pritchard was like, all right, the Ringmaster. Rocky Maivia with the goofy haircut. But that's what people like Cornette like to do. They love to discount people because, I don't like them. Because Cornette is a typical atheist piece of trash. And if you notice, most of these atheists, they have the same characteristics. They don't believe in a higher power, so they put all their belief in people and materialism. So that's why Cornette, if he likes you, you can do no wrong. And if he dislikes you, you should be dead and you don't exist to him. And great. Typical atheist behavior. The typical people like him, that's why they always have meltdowns. They have no composure. They have no composure. They live in their own little world, and people like him, they have blackouts. Oh, what a piece of trash. Have you seen his wife? She has pictures on the internet where she's bent over and she's... Whatever happened to them allegations at OVW? But anyway, back to the stupidity of Cornette. And in this specific episode, and this will be a long series because there's so much material you wouldn't believe. I'm surprised more people have not uncovered things. Cornette has a lot of abnormal things that he was doing in and around in the OVW years just alone. Throughout the years, there's many stories. There's stories of him in the 80s with certain rats. You know, there's a story about Andre the Giant mauling some broad in a hotel lobby. Oh, God. But Cornette was very abnormal. I can't believe I don't find no videos of this on YouTube. It's amazing to me. There's so many stories about these people. There were some allegations against him and the broad he put a ring on. I don't know where those went, but there's other stories. But it was so beautiful, that one episode where Cornette's crying. You know, Cornette, who loves to talk crazy about everybody, that's another sign. It's another sign. It's like Cornette's the Eminem of wrestling. It's this thing of, this person can talk crazy about you, but if you go back at him, somehow you're wrong. He's the Eminem of wrestling. Overrated trailer park trash. But in this episode, the stupidity of Cornette is his goofy wrestling tropes, his repeated cycle, and most specifically, one very notable booking decision is right around here. Now, it doesn't say it here, but it's right around this period, right around this 97, 98 period, and it involves Terry Funk. Now, Terry Funk is someone who Cornette has always been a mark for and always revered, but Terry Funk is a true legend. He certainly is. And speaking of true legends, I got to make this point. A few weeks ago, I made a video about Mark Henry. And the video was Mark Henry, I believe on Busted Open or some show. He was going on and on and on, and he was talking about, I'm a legend, and when I die, people are going to remember me for my contribution to this business. And it's like, Mark Henry, what are you talking about? Mark Henry's not a legend. Mark Henry's not a legend. Terry Funk is a legend. The Rock is a legend. Bruno Sammartino is a legend. So on and so forth. Mark Henry's not a legend. Okay, he had a 2-year good run, 2011 to 2013. And when I made these points, people in the comments, how could you say this about Mark Henry? How could you say? You even have man worshippers for Mark Henry. Sexual chocolate. Even he has man worshippers. Mark Henry, he had 2 good years. How could you say he's not a legend? The Hall of Pain was legendary. When he was wearing the salmon jacket and he turned on Cena, that was legendary. The Hall of Pain was a good gimmick for 2 years. The Cena swerve was a great swerve, but that don't make you a legend. Most people just love throwing labels and words around. Because you're around a long time, that don't mean you're a legend. That just means you found a way to keep a job. That's what that means. The company didn't even want him. They wanted him to quit. They tried to make him quit. If you know, you know. Most of Mark Henry's career is a joke. Even in that Hall of Pain run, 2011 to 2013, when he's supposed to be serious and he finally figured it out, half the crowd is still chanting sexual chocolate at him. He's most known for being in bed with Mae Young and her pap smear juice is all over his lips. She pulls out this big ass Suge Knight cigar like she's on the cover of the Source magazine in 96. Please. He's known for the China storyline with Sammy, if you know, you know. He's not a legend. Terry Funk's a legend. And even how things tie in here, I just had to make that point because I couldn't believe how many groupies were in the comments crying over Mark Henry. It's Mark Henry, you marks. Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to this channel. You can donate to the Cash App. If you have a video request, most of these videos are from donations from people like you. This is PBS. And if you want to donate, you just put, in the line what you want your video to be about and go on from there. Shout out to the supporters. Shout out to the new subscribers. It's been a beautiful last couple months on this channel. And but even on the point of Mark Henry, how it ties into this, Cornette a little bit, I believe Cornette was on record saying Mark Henry is a little difficult to work with in those early years because Mark Henry kind of thought he knew more than he did, and he kind of had a little bit of a bad attitude, whatever the case. Well, they did take a dump in the Subway sandwich, and he still bit into it. Yeah, they gave him the other type of chocolate, the other type of sexual chocolate. Oh, God. But back to Cornette stinking ass. Have you seen his wife? He don't like Sable, but he settled for this. Cornette is such a coward. Um, Cornette's one of these people. He loves to pick and choose. All this his fake ranting. Cornette is not going to do nothing to nobody in real life who'll do something back. He took a baseball bat to this. Great. Anyone Cornette yelled at or took a bat to was somebody who he knew wasn't going to fight back. He's a coward. Oh, but when Brock Lesnar, I'll shoot you. Oh, Cornette talks all this nonsense. I don't remember him talking about yelling or trying to fight New Jack. Yeah, I don't remember that. Anyway, but Cornette's brilliant booking, he went on with this for years and years and years. In the WCW days, he pitched this. In WWF, he pitched this. In TNA, he pitched this. In Ohio, Cornette had this fixation with anybody who comes out of a box will get over. Anyone who comes out of a box gets over. So you get Chainsaw Charlie, his WWF debut, December 29th, 97. I remember this Raw as a kid. I remember seeing this, and when he came out the box, I remember thinking, who is this? Who is this? Who's this decrepit old man? He has a stocking cap on his face with Johnson & Johnson's baby powder like his crotch is itching. Who is this? And then later on, it's like, oh, Terry Funk. And as a kid in 97, I remember thinking, why don't they just let him be Terry Funk? You know why? Because Vince McMahon didn't want Terry Funk. The company, they did not want Terry Funk. Terry Funk is a legend. He's a legend by this point, been a legend. He was revered and respected and all these type of things. He helped ECW early in that year tremendously when barely legal. And he'd done great things for ECW. But he did great things because of who he was, not because he was a great athlete or a great in the ring anymore. No, he couldn't move. He couldn't walk. But he helped with his presence. And ECW marks were marks for, everyone. But when he gets to WWF in late 97, it was Cornette. They were tired of Cornette by late 97. Cornette, he's typical atheist behavior. He's always right, and if you challenge him, you wrong, and great, typical. Cornette's the type of person, he loves to put everything he was right, and the way he thought was right, and anyone against him was just wrong and wrong and wrong. Great. So, to disprove that nonsense, Cornette kept pushing, let's bring Terry Funk in, let's bring Terry Funk in, let's bring Terry Funk in. They didn't want to bring Terry Funk in. Why? It's a youth era. It's a new era. But fine. Cornette wants him in, we'll bring him in. McMahon always had a thing about Terry Funk. McMahon, he never like saw it in Terry Funk. This is why when he came in the 80s, they changed it. Didn't they change his name? What was his name? Was it Haas Funk? What was Terry Funk's name in WWF? Or did they change Dory's name to that? Let me see. Here. Let's see, Terry Funk. Okay, no. They changed Dory's name to Haas Funk. Yeah, McMahon, he never, both of the Funks, he never really had that much of great, saw value in them like that. He would bring people in, like Harley Race. He made Harley Race a joke. You're going to be the king and wear this goofy outfit. McMahon never had that much care for Terry Funk. He just never did. And by late 97, they didn't want to bring him in. They didn't need to. But it was Cornette pounding the desk. Let's bring him in. So they bring him in and they make him Chainsaw Charlie, which is they made him a joke. And he was walking around with his wife's pantyhose and powder on his face. And then later in 98, they finally let him be Terry Funk. But by that time, it was like, who cares? Coming out of a box did not get him over. It was a guy coming out of a box. I don't know why Cornette thinks this is so great. He's been pitching this for years. Oh yeah, because Chris Kanyon. You know what? Cornette has such a profound impact. Years later, when Cornette is in OVW or ECW or Your Mother's W, they bring in Chris Kanyon and he comes out of a box as a present to The Undertaker. And Chris Kanyon, he really got over that night. Because coming out of a box. Cornette is full of these nonsensical tropes, and he just keeps repeating angles. If you watch Cornette's booking, and especially when he got to really, really handle the booking, they kept the reins on him in most places. But if you watch him in Smoky Mountain or OVW, he would always repeat the same angles. Cornette never got, you can't keep doing the same thing that frequently. Okay, like, there's certain angles in wrestling, you can only do them like once every 20 years, okay? An NWO type invasion where a group comes in and destroys the set you can't do that every 6 months. You can't do that every 3 years. You need to wait 10, 20 years, okay? NWO doing that, great. But then 2010, the Nexus came in, great, because it was like that long since you've seen something like that. Cornette was someone, he'd do the same angles 3 weeks later. Like, for example, if you go back and watch like OVW in like early 2000s, and I will say OVW in the early 2000s was tremendous TV, but there were still times where it's like, why is Cornette stuck in the 70s? Everything about him, to this day, he's stuck in the 70s. He would do these angles, like, for example, one he always had was someone will be sitting in the front row and they get hit in the face with popcorn. And then that leads to a feud, like, and then he'd do that same angle 3 weeks later. Like, you didn't just do it with Matt Morgan. Like, he would always do these type things, and but he always had this fixation with, if you come out of a box, you get over. If something's pulled out of a box, it gets over. They did this in TNA. The stupidity of Jim Cornette. Now, when you go back to Terry Funk coming out of this box, around that same time, this is when Cornette is like, Russo's ruining my wrestling, and why don't we do more wrestling in this company and all this stuff? And that's another reason why they let him do the rants on, his Phil Mushnick rants. Okay, Cornette, we're tired of hearing it, so do this on TV. So they let him do that. They were tired of him by late '97. Cornette loves to paint this picture of, no, I was tired of them, and I was tired of Connecticut, and I wanted to get out of here. No, they were tired of you. And, it was both, but they were tired of you more. Because once again, if Cornette is so great and so valuable, why has every company let him leave or fired him? Okay, Jim, I'm tired of Connecticut. I'm going to Ohio. Okay, Jim. I'm really going. Okay, Jim. I'm telling you, I'm packed up. I'm ready to go. Okay, Jim. Okay. Okay. They were not begging him to stay. They were not begging him. I'm telling you. You know what? He called back 15 minutes later. Yeah, I'm on the highway. I'm halfway to Louisville. Okay, Jim. They did not care. They were sick of him. The things he was allowed to do is like, all right, fine. We're tired of him. Just let him do it. It's going to fail anyway. Russo says this. And even Pritchard said this in his podcast. Cornette would be so, into something. They let him do it and fine. And it would fail and then, whatever. But, around this time, he got to do the rants on Raw, and he got to, let's bring Terry Funk in, which did not mean anything, as far as how he was painting it to them. And then at the same time, the old school wrestling, so it's like, Jim wants to do this thing with the NWA, or, he's friends with this, what is it, Dennis Corluzzo, and, he loved Jeff Jarrett. Another, the more stupidity of Cornette. He was the one person who loved Jeff Jarrett. Well, I guess, oh God, him and Russo. And also Kurt Angle's wife. Oh my God. I don't like Jeff Jarrett. Okay, I can't stand him. But that Karen Angle. That Karen Angle. No. Literally, that's a hell of a steal. But hit the like button. Share this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Subscribe to my other channels as well. They're in the link in the description. They're in the description and the link in this video, whatever the case. But, he had the whole old school wrestling, and we don't do enough wrestling matches, and, Cornette is like Meltzer in these marks. They time matches. Oh, we only had Raw only had 13 minutes of wrestling last Monday. The show sucks. The show just hit a 5, Jim. Well, well, in 1942 in St. Louis, they did a 54 rating, so I don't want to hear about a 5 in 98. Like, okay, Jim. Can you imagine Cornette's in bed with his wife? Hey, honey, I want some of that box. Okay, Jim. People just placate him. Cornette's like a child who keeps, you have a bunch of adults at a table, and the child keeps, Mom, what, Jim? I want to go outside. Okay, go. It's a tornado outside, but he wants to go outside. Okay, go. Like, people don't take him seriously. Whenever you hear people in wrestling talk about Cornette, They're never like, oh, Cornette he was so brilliant and he was so right. No, you know what they do? Oh, yeah, he's crazy. Yeah, they just brush him off. They don't take his ranting and raving seriously. They never took him seriously. Oh, that's just Jim. They never take him seriously. But I think Cornette has this idea that he's like the voice of wrestling and voice of wrestling history, and people go, no, only his delusional marks go to him, and I'm gonna eat off his carcass. Oh, it's just tremendous material I have. There's so many abnormal. Like I said, I'm surprised no one has exposed a lot of these things. He has a lot of abnormal stories, which I will get to. That in this whole like Me Too trash. Well, he did have those allegations. I don't know what happened to him. But but anyway, back to this time, late '97, early '98. They let him do the NWA group, and they knew it was going to fail. It's 1998. Why do you want to do Southern wrestling? This is New York. Even at that time, WCW was not doing Southern wrestling. No, they were modern. They had the NWO. They had Crow Sting. They had Goldberg coming up. It was modern. Cornette was always stuck in the 70s. Like I said, it's 1995, but I'm going to wear this powder blue suit because it'll get me heat. And when they did the NWA group, how did that work? It failed miserably. It did not get over. Nobody cared. When they were doing it, it was like, okay, where's Austin? Where's Mike Tyson? Where's Kane? No one cared. We got this guy named Dan the Beast Severn. Great. And Dan the Beast Severn was just as bland as Cornette's ideas. He came out with a sweaty shirt and black tights and no physique. Well, Russo screwed him up because I told Russo, don't do this. A newsflash. I don't care if Christ was booking Dan Severn. He was never going to get over. He had no charisma. Because you're a real fighter, that don't mean anything in wrestling. It never has. Ken Shamrock was a great athlete and a good wrestler, and he had presence. Dan Severn possessed none of this. None of it. The brilliance of Jim Cornette, anyone who comes out of a box gets over. And apparently, Star Maker Kenny Bolin was coming out of his wife's box. With that said, I'm up out of here. And that is it.